Hey, folks. Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. Coming to you from my home today because it is snowing. Yes, snowing here in North Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I reside. So pretty interesting as a guy from the East Coast to see it snowing here down to the south and see the reaction of locals. It's not a common occurrence here, obviously. So it's been kind of fun. But what's not fun is what's going on right now in Turkey. And this is slipping a bit under the radar screen, folks, because obviously on this channel and around the world, we've been focused so much on Iran. And rightfully so, the Iranian Ring of Fire, the Iranian terror axis, which has caused so much havoc, not only in the Middle East, but around the world. Well, that Iranian Ring of Fire is essentially now a smoldering heap of ruins in many ways. And there may be a new major adversary developing for Israel. It's one Israel clearly doesn't want. It's one the West certainly doesn't want to go into the wrong direction. But I believe the train has left the station. I'm talking about Turkey under the leadership of a radical Islamist of the Muslim Brotherhood school, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Now, we've documented, you might say, Stakelbeck, what are you talking about? He's not a new adversary. They've been an adversary to Israel. Well, not necessarily. Before Erdogan, and he came to power in 2002, Turkey and Israel had great relations. Not only that, Turkey and the United States and the West writ large had great relations. Folks, remember, Turkey is still a NATO member nation. In fact, they wield the second largest military in all of NATO. That's a scary thought under his leadership. But under Erdogan's rule, you know what I call them, right? If you've heard me talk about Turkey, we call Turkey, under Erdogan at least, NINO, NATO in name only. And he has absolutely shifted towards the East. Hamas, one of their greatest supporters, perhaps even a benefactor, he hosted Hamas operatives on Turkish soil openly, a friend of Iran and a friend of radical Islamists who allowed ISIS to transit through Syria for years, who has provided safe haven for all sorts of jihadis, and who now has been the main backer of that new jihadist government in Syria at Israel's doorstep. He's someone who has threatened Jerusalem, literally, and I don't exaggerate, who has literally threatened to conquer Jerusalem, or in his words, reconquer it. He believes that once a Muslim land, always a Muslim land. That's the jihadi belief. And he essentially wants to bring back the glory days of the Turkish-led Ottoman Empire. Remember, that disbanded in 1924. After the end of World War I, the caliphate was gone after hundreds of years. And the last leader of the caliphate, you might say, by the way, what is a caliphate? A caliphate is a union of all Islamic nations united together into one entity ruled over by Islamic Sharia law, headed up by a caliph, the head of the caliphate. And I believe Erdogan, although he wears a suit and tie, fancies himself as a sort of modern day caliph who would love to revive those Ottoman glory days and the Islamic caliphate. And look, he saw an opening in 2011, 2012 with the Arab Spring, which quickly unraveled into an Islamist winter when the Muslim Brotherhood for a time there was ascendant. His brothers, literally and figuratively, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Jordan, they were growing stronger, and that kind of collapsed. Al-Sisi came to power in Egypt. In Tunisia, the Brotherhood lost, and they've been on the run ever since, although they're very strong, by the way, here in the West, United States and Europe. That's another story. But Erdogan saw an opening there, then that unraveled. Okay, then ISIS forms a mini caliphate in Iraq and Syria, 2014, 15. And Erdogan, again, allows the flow of fighters through Turkey to join ISIS. Many of those fighters, by the way, from the West, Europe, and the United States. And then that unravels. What Erdogan's been trying to see here is he'll allow jihadis to do the dirty work. Let them, and this was true in the case of ISIS, let them clear a path and establish the territorial conquest. And then he can kind of roll in and rule over it as the caliph. Let the jihadists do the dirty work, seize the territory, and then he becomes the caliph. And he becomes the de facto head of a new caliphate. And I believe that's his philosophy. And you have competing powers in the Middle East. And we'll get to the war possibilities with Turkey in just a quick second. And a disturbing new report that you need to know about, folks, that no one's talking about. I said at the top, this is slipping under the radar screen. An Israeli government commission just this week released a report warning about a potential war with Turkey. So we're going to talk about that and dig into it. But the competing spheres of influence in the Muslim world, you have Turkey, wants to lead the caliphate, wants to lead the Muslim world. Iran does as well from the Shia side. Iran's been trying to unite the Islamic world against the US and America and against the free world. And then the Saudis, of course, the custodians of Mecca and Medina, and they always see themselves as the most influential power in the Muslim world. Those are the three main power bases with kind of competing visions, although Turkey and Iran will work alongside each other for sure when the issue or the incident warrants, or the certain geopolitical challenges. They line up oftentimes, certainly in support of Hamas and jihadi groups, et cetera, against Israel. So those are some of the competing spheres of influence there. I think prophetically, and we're going to talk about the prophetic implications of this turn by Turkey, I think Iran and Turkey will eventually line up. And I'm thinking the war of Gog and Magog laid out in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. I think eventually they're going to line up because, folks, when you think about it, a lot of people, look, debate, and we've talked the Ezekiel war a lot. And to me, that's a war. Some people say, well, it already happened. Or some people say it's not going to happen until after Jesus returns. I think that war of Gog and Magog is a more contemporary war, for sure. And by contemporary, I don't know if it's a year from now, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, but I certainly see those prophetic chess pieces moving on the board and that lining up. I say all that to say, many believe that Russia, Turkey, and Iran will lead this latter days key point. That's what Ezekiel says. It's going to be in the latter days. This latter days confederation of mostly Islamic nations, it seems, that come against Israel. There's debate as to whether, okay, Russia will be part. Some say, no, it's not Russia. So there's some debate over Russia's role, if any, if there is a Russian role. But what I haven't seen anyone debate is the role of Turkey and Iran. Every prophecy teacher, scholar I've heard from and listened to seem to think Turkey and Iran, that's rock solid. They're going to be in it. We can debate about Russia all day long, but Turkey and Iran, done deal. Iran is explicitly named. Persia, that's modern day Iran. Ancient Persia is modern day Iran. Then Gomer and Beth Togarmah and these biblical names, ancient biblical names that are used to describe modern day nations. Many believe that, and most believe that applies to Turkey. So Turkey and Iran, everyone seems to agree, oh, they're in it. They're in that invasion force. We can talk all day and debate about Russia, but Turkey and Iran, that's a sure thing. So it seems eventually they will converge prophetically against Israel. But in the meantime, in real time, let's talk about this commission, this Israeli government commission, the Nagel Commission. It was just established in 2023, actually before the October 7th massacre, oddly enough, to basically give recommendations to Israel's Ministry of Defense, a state of play, so to speak, about the threats facing Israel and what Israel should do about it. Very Sun de Vizikar-esque. And the report focused mainly, not surprisingly, on Iran and its proxies, but it did indeed have a section where, according to our friends at All Israel News, this commission gave what it calls, quote, a sobering warning about the possibility of conflict with Turkey. I'm just reading this straight off my phone. That's why I'm looking down. Particularly following the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad in Syria just last month, and the rise of Turkish-affiliated rebel groups to lead the new Syrian government. Hey, you now have Turkey butting up against Israel's border. If Turkey's going to have its claws in Syria in a major way, there's no telling if that will bring Israel and Turkey into direct conflict. Because, folks, remember, as we've been reporting here on the channel, Israel wisely has established a buffer zone inside of Syria, on Syrian soil, on the other side of Mount Hermon, near the Israel-Golan border. And Israeli forces are about 20, 25 miles from Damascus, the Syrian capital. And they're doing it for a very simple reason, because Israel has internalized the lessons of October 7th. They're not going to allow a jihadi menace to gather on their borders anymore. So saying, wait a minute, Assad's gone, and that's great. And Iran's been largely kicked out of Syria as a result. But the new overlords in Syria are al-Qaeda linked jihadists. So that's not good either. So Israel's saying, you know what? We can't afford to have these jihadis raiding into Israel. So we're going to create a buffer zone, and we're going to stay here for the foreseeable future until things shake out a bit more in Syria. Again, folks, a very wise preemptive move. But Turkey also is looking to enhance its presence in Syria. And the main goal there in the short term for Turkey is to push out the Kurds. And I think you're going to see more of that. Turkish threats towards the Kurds in northern and northeastern Syria. And that can get nasty. It's been nasty in the past, in the not so distant past. But you could see a scenario where if Turkey all of a sudden is right on Israel's doorstep in Syria, Turkey is Israel's new neighbor, essentially, the chance for conflict heightens. And Erdogan is a very unpredictable character, needless to say. And if he feels like he's gaining power and he's got a foothold now right at the doorstep of Israel, all bets are off. But the commission went on to say, this Nagel Commission, again, an Israeli government-sponsored commission, it addressed, quote, Turkey's complex status, I'd say so, in the region, and its changing relations with Israel over the past few years. Turkey is a major player with a presence outside of its own borders, a military presence. Think Libya, think Syria, think Azerbaijan. Turkey has been expansionist, no doubt, where its actions have affected the situation on the ground. The commission urged Israel to take into account the strategic challenges posed by Turkey, and noting the change of power and the balance now with Iran weakened, could Ankara leverage its newfound, not exactly newfound, but it's growing, let's say, its bolstered power in the region. And get this Israeli government commission, folks, the Nagel Commission, recommended that Israel prepare broadly for possible scenarios of military confrontation in the northern region. That means Syria, where Turkey has made a significant investment of funds and forces. Quote, the report says the problem will intensify if the Syrian power becomes a Turkish emissary, a Turkish proxy, this new Syrian government, as part of the realization, here we go, of the Turkish dream of returning the Ottoman crown, the caliphate, to its former glory. And it will deepen the direct danger, if that happens, of Turkish-Israeli hostilities, according to this commission. And wow, this is troubling, needless to say, and that's an understatement. And you might say, okay, how do Israel and Turkey size up? Prophetically, it seems inevitable. As I said, most people agree, okay, the different players in that Gog-Magog coalition we can debate about, but two charter members that seem rock solid prophetically, that seems to be Israel and Turkey. So if Turkey is destined, I'm sad to say, but the Bible is pretty clear, to turn against Israel. And it may not be under Erdogan's rule. It may be under a future leader, but he certainly fits the bill of an anti-Israel demagogue. And I don't say that lightly. How do they size up? What capabilities does Turkey have militarily? And look, I said at the outset, Turkey has the second largest military in all of NATO, which should tell you something. They're no slouch, needless to say. And I've talked to Israeli military experts and analysts who've said the same thing. But what about their recent moves? Three things I want to discuss. Long range ballistic missiles. Why does Turkey need those? A seriously bolstered Navy. And what about a potential Turkish nuclear threat? You heard me right. Turkish nuclear threat. These are things that are being discussed right now when we talk about a looming conflict between Israel and Turkey, which prophetically you knew it was coming if you read Ezekiel 38 and 39, but it seems things have kind of gone into overdrive in that regard since, again, the government of Bashar al-Assad collapsed in Syria and Turkish-backed jihadis now control Damascus and a good chunk of that country. We're going to dig into all this, folks. Again, this is a story that not many people, some are talking about it, but not enough, certainly not in the mainstream media. It's not on their radar screen. Everyone rightly sees the Iranian nuclear threat, which I believe will be the story of 2025, along with Syria. What happens to Iran's nuclear program? Is this the year of reckoning where Israel acts, takes advantage of this golden opportunity that it has right now with Iran and its proxies so weakened? But lurking in the shadows and looming, I believe, especially the weaker Iran gets and the Iranian axis gets, the more Turkey becomes ascendant and poses a greater threat. Not enough people, certainly not in the mainstream media, are seeing that, seeing down the road at what's coming, but we are, and we're going to break it down more in a second. Before I do, quick reminder to subscribe to the Watchman News channel right here on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. We're coming to you most days, sometimes Saturday and Sunday as well, depending on the news cycle. So you'll want to get those notifications. Be sure to subscribe, join our watchmen and women on the wall here every day. And hey, 2024 was a banner year for the channel. We passed 1 million subscribers because we're bringing a message of biblical truth, unapologetically, current events, breaking news out of the Middle East chiefly, and Israel, the world's most prophetic region, and why it affects you no matter where you live. So be sure to subscribe. And speaking of standing with Israel, defending Israel, we partner with a great organization called Friends of Israel. I'm asked all the time, Eric, how can I help in Israel's time of greatest need right now? Friends of Israel, folks, and executive director, founder Jim Showers, great guy, good friend of mine. He's doing incredible work. Friends of Israel has been fighting this fight since 1938. You heard me right. Since 1938, Friends of Israel has been standing with Israel. That was during World War II, during the height of the Nazi regime. So they've been at it for a long time. They're one of the originals, and they're a tried, true, and trusted brand when it comes to standing with and blessing Israel and the Jewish people. It is israelurgent.org. That's israelurgent.org. I love that URL. It is urgent. It's never been more urgent. Here's a bit of what Friends of Israel does. Number one, they're funding ambulances, medical equipment, and metacycles in Israel. Number two, they're providing protective essentials such as helmets, fire jackets, and firefighting equipment. And look, those rockets, those missiles are falling, the drones. There's large fires in northern Israel, southern Israel. They need help. Friends of Israel is equipping first responders and frontline medic crews with portable ultrasound machines, tourniquets, and special medical thermal blankets that give critically wounded people a greater chance of survival. IDF soldiers, terror victims. They provide first responder training to prepare for future crises, events, and terror attacks like we're talking about today. And the support is so crucial, folks, for people who have been profoundly affected by not just the war, but the wars. Again, these are wars that Israel's fighting on multiple fronts. We've talked about the Houthi, the Yemen front, 7 fronts, essentially, that Israel's been fighting on for the past 15 months. Look, Friends of Israel also supplies trauma therapy to victims, bomb shelters to protect Israelis from the next terrorist attack. This is an amazing organization, folks. At it since 1938. They fought Hitler. Now they're fighting the modern day Hitlers, the modern day Nazis of Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and the Iranian regime. It is israelurgent.org. We are proud to stand with our good friends at Friends of Israel. Their name says it all. They truly are at this longer than practically anyone, Friends of Israel. And this is a Christian organization run by strong Bible-believing Christians who believe and live out the mandate to bless Israel. You can do that too. You can fulfill that mandate. Support Friends of Israel. It's israelurgent.org. Check them out. Hey, Turkey's capabilities. I mentioned that a minute ago because you're saying, okay, the Israeli government, it's not Stakelbeck. And some people might say see the title and thumbnail, oh, he's hyping up a war between Israel and Turkey. Look at this guy's a warmonger. No, that's insane. What I'm doing is shining light on an Israeli government commission that's warning about war with Turkey. Big difference there. It's called reporting facts and the news. And when an Israeli government commission releases a report saying, hey, we're in danger of coming into direct conflict with a NATO member nation, Turkey, at least a NATO member for now, that's a big deal. and it's worth reporting on. And by the way, a lot of people ask, can we get Turkey out of NATO? Well, I think that has to be, are there 30 NATO members now? 30 or 32 now, I believe, after Sweden and Finland but joined. But I think it has to be a consensus, I'm sorry, with every other NATO member nation coming to that consensus and concluding, hey, we want them out. So would Turkey voluntarily leave NATO? I find that hard to believe, because why would they? If they're not being pushed out, why not reap all the benefits of being in the NATO alliance? And so you have a foot in the West if you're Turkey, and you have a foot in the East with your terror proxies, Iran, Hamas, and all the rest. And they're chummy with Russia and China, of course. So Erdogan feels like he's in a great position. Unless they vote him out of NATO, he's staying. And I imagine he's privy to intelligence that's shared among NATO member nations. Even though he's not a friend of the West, he's striking an adversarial tone increasingly. So he's in the catbird seat in many ways, which is a scary thought. So we'll see what the future holds. If he goes too far, I believe, at least verbally, and more than verbally, in hosting Hamas operatives, etc., on Turkish soil, he's already gone too far. He should have already been reprimanded by NATO, and I don't know what that all entails. I don't have the NATO bylaws in front of me, but I don't even hear NATO member nation leaders condemning him when he acts up and engages in this vitriol against Israel. Where are the condemnations? It's radio silence from other NATO member leaders when Erdogan goes off on these unhinged tangents against Israel. I don't know what it's going to take where NATO wakes up and says, you know what, wait a minute, we need to sit down and have a little talk with Recep Tayyip Erdogan. But perhaps this will do it. Erdogan is now on the hunt for long-range ballistic missiles. Why? Who is his target? This is from Israel Hayom, a great publication in Israel. The Turkish president has revealed that his country is upgrading its ballistic missile program. Turkey is currently engaged in efforts to expand both its army and navy, more on that in a second, but he's announcing development of missiles that could range 2,000 kilometers. That's over 1,200 miles. So he said that just 2 days ago, and it's going to, that's so long-range missiles. Then he said, yeah, we're also going to enhance our existing arsenal of medium-range ballistic missiles. This is a clearly developing threat. Wake up, everyone. He's telegraphing exactly what he's going to do. He's feeling very confident after what happened in Syria, where Russia essentially had to leave for the most part. Russia's influence in Syria now blunted. Iran, Hezbollah, they're out. Again, he's in the catbird seat and he's crowing. He feels good after what happened in Syria. He sees it as, hey, I just influenced world events. My support of those jihadi rebels led to regime change in Syria and the toppling of Bashar al-Assad. He's got a lot of hubris right now, and he's feeling very good about himself. And now he wants to expand his missile capabilities. He said, quote, Erdogan, we have decided to strengthen our stockpile of missiles with ranges exceeding 800 kilometers and accelerate the development of long-range missiles capable of reaching a range of 2,000 kilometers. That's about 1,200 miles. This is just 2 days ago. You didn't hear about this in the mainstream media, did you? That's why we do what we do here on the channel. Be sure to subscribe. And another point here, Turkey's Navy. They are building 31 warships, 31, to boost, quote, regional dominance and global power. This is according to the Middle East Eye. The Turkish Navy, is rebuilding its fleet to include an aircraft carrier and a destroyer that could reach the Indian Ocean. Hello. Do we see what's happening here? We have China building up in Asia, and we have Turkey building up here in the Middle East and in the Near East. Turkey's defense minister revealed just last week that Turkish shipyards are simultaneously building 31 naval ships. So that's another alarm bell for you. That a flashing red alarm, flashing red sign, developing long-range ballistic missiles, enhancing the medium-range ballistic missile stockpiles, majorly enhancing and expanding its navy. What is Turkey after? Why is Turkey doing this? Why the military buildup? Now, with China, it's easy. We know what China wants, and they don't disguise it. China wants global domination. That's why right now the communist regime in China is engaged in the largest military buildup that we've seen since World War II, since Nazi Germany. Massive military, nuclear, naval, in all facets. The largest military buildup since we've seen since World War II. That's what China's engaged in right now. And the entire world knows, although the entire world wants to appease them and not admit it, but the entire world knows what China's after here: global domination. Turkey's buildup is not on the scale of the China buildup, of course, but that's a pretty significant military buildup that I just outlined for you. Why? Why is Turkey doing this? There's no one threatening Turkey. Look, they live in obviously a rough neighborhood, no doubt, but Turkey has generally good relations with its neighbors, its Muslim neighbors. Look, there have been tensions over the years with Egypt, Jordan, with Iran, but not the kind of tensions that are at the barrel of a gun, per se. And Erdogan's gone to great lengths in recent years to heal relations with the likes of Egypt. So, what is Erdogan building up for? Who is his enemy? Who does he see? Big question. And consider this: my friend Michael Rubin, great analyst in DC, wrote a piece in the Washington Examiner, and the title says it all. Could Turkey pose as great a nuclear threat as Iran? Here are the details. He says Israel may have no choice but to attack Iran's nuclear program in the coming months, and we've talked about that. But he says, again, the world's missing this. While the world focuses on a possible Iranian nuclear breakout, a stealth nuclear threat looms. Turkey, its Russia-built nuclear plant opens this year, and Erdogan has hinted at nuclear weapons ambitions just 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago. Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, said, quote, several countries have missiles with nuclear warheads, not one or two, but they tell us, Turkey, that we can't have them. This I cannot accept. That was Erdogan. And one of his close advisors said, either the Islamic world must unite and collaborate with China and Russia, or Turkey must move forward by acquiring nuclear warheads and weapons. And there you go. The Islamic world unites. That's the caliphate. By the way, Pakistan is an Islamic nuclear power. There is an Islamic bomb. Pakistan is a nuclear power, but I digress. But he just laid it out. Either we combine together into a caliphate, or we align more closely with China and Russia and take advantage of their nuclear arsenals, or we, Turkey, develop these weapons on our own. And you don't think that if Iran, God forbid, were to get the bomb, that there wouldn't be a nuclear arms race, and that Turkey in the Middle East, and that Turkey wouldn't be at the head of the pack? If Iran broke out and got the bomb, God forbid, folks, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, they're lining up. There's a massive nuclear arms race in the world, what's already the world's most chaotic and volatile region, the Middle East. Nightmare scenario. That's why a nuclear Iran is a non-starter. And Israel's not going to let it happen, and the Trump administration won't let it happen. I believe if Kamala Harris, I'll say God forbid again, became president, there was a good chance it would have happened, or it would have gotten very ugly, because Kamala wouldn't have used U.S. power to stop a nuclear Iran. It was all lip service. The left and the globalists here in the U.S. believe, well, we can contain Iran. And when they can't fathom that there are religious fanatics who really mean what they say in the Islamist world, and we're talking about Iran, well, they'll get the bomb, but they won't really use it. That was the philosophy here. The real fanatics are those Christian extremists, so-called. That's a philosophy of the left here in the West. But the Islamists, hey, we can appease them. They don't really mean it. If we're nice to them and give them billions of dollars, they won't bomb us. They won't use the bomb. They won't develop nuclear weapons. Fat chance. But doomsday scenario, she would have allowed Iran to go nuclear. And when Israel moved to stop it, she would have tried to tie Israel's hands in every way. I believe Israel, regardless, would have done it anyway, but it would have gotten nasty. because the U.S. under Harris would not have supported that Israeli strike, I don't believe. But you know what? We're not going to ever really consider that because Donald J. Trump takes office in just 11 short days, and it can't come soon enough. And Iran will be on notice, first of all. But I'm glad we focused today on Turkey, because what I just laid out for you is a gathering storm. Folks, this is a collision course. And it's amazing to me. Israel can't catch a break in a sense, right? In that they've weakened the Iranian axis. Iran has its tail between its legs right now. They're still lethal, and so are the proxies. But man, have they taken a major hit. And now, boom, Turkey's rearing its head in a major way. So Israel can't even take a breath, can't even catch its breath, where now it's got Turkey looming across the border in Syria. And as I laid out for you today, up to no good, some nefarious activities and the long-range plans here. Why is Erdogan interested in nuclear weapons? Why long-range ballistic missiles? Why a massive Navy buildup? Why? Why the presence in Syria at Israel's doorstep? Why the constant threats against Jerusalem? Folks, you do the math. So keep this on your radar screen in 2025. The Iran nuclear program, obviously, what happens there, the reckoning, story one. But story 1A, I would say, would be what happens in Syria. How does this Islamist government at Israel's doorstep develop, and what's Turkey's role in all of this? Do tensions between Israel and Turkey only heighten in 2025? And again, we laid out the prophetic implications. Whew. A lot going on, needless to say, in the world's most strategic and prophetic region. That's why we are glad you are joining us here every day, or most days, here on the Watchman Newscast live stream. Again, be sure to subscribe and keep it right here. We'll continue to bring you breaking updates. Even more importantly, keep it all in prayer. And I want to mention this at the top. I'll mention it now. California, no matter where, we have viewers around the world, no matter where you live in the world, please pray right now for the victims of the horrific fires in California. Folks, this is madness what's happening right now in California. So please, please pray for the people who are affected by the fires right now. They truly, truly need it, that these fires are extinguished and that God just surrounds the homes and the people in Southern California there along the Pacific coast with a divine hedge of protection in Jesus' name. So thanks, everyone. And until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching.